Before the next year arrives, you will face a choice, one that will shape the direction of your life far more than you realize. You can continue living the way you always have, repeating the same habits, the same routines, the same excuses, or you can step forward with intention and deliberately design the future you want. The truth is, life doesn't change simply because the calendar does. It changes when you do. It changes when you decide that your growth is no longer optional, that your dreams are no longer something you'll get to eventually, that your potential deserves to be pursued with clarity, discipline, and purpose. 2026 is approaching quickly. And it's not just another year, it's an opportunity, a moment in time where you can choose to evolve instead of repeat. A moment where you can look at your life honestly and say, this is who I've been, but this is who I'm going to become. Most people drift into the future without intention, hoping things will magically improve. But hope is not a strategy. Growth is not an accident. Transformation is never passive. It is a decision, a commitment, a daily practice. This speech is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters. It's about 5 essential actions, 5 decisions that will determine the strength of your mindset, the clarity of your path, and the quality of your life in 2026 and beyond. These are not suggestions. These are non-negotiables for anyone who wants to step into the next chapter as a stronger, more focused, more fulfilled version of themselves. Because the future belongs to those who prepare for it long before it arrives. So before 2026 finds you, ask yourself one question. Are you willing to become the person your future self will thank you for? There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise, the excuses, and the distractions fade long enough for the truth to whisper something powerful. You are not as far as you could be, not because you lack potential, but because you haven't taken a brutally honest look at your own life. Most people avoid this moment. They avoid it because self-auditing requires courage. It requires sitting alone with your own decisions, your own habits, your own limitations, and admitting that some of the wounds you carry were self-inflicted. But before 2026 arrives, you must confront this truth, not to blame yourself, but to free yourself. A life audit isn't about perfection, it's about clarity. It's about removing the fog that has been covering your reality. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself that things will get better soon? How many times have you assumed that your circumstances will magically change once the timing is right, once the opportunity appears, once the motivation kicks in? But time doesn't change you. Opportunity doesn't define you. Motivation doesn't sustain you. Only honesty creates transformation. Because only when you know exactly where you stand can you decide where you are capable of going. Begin by asking yourself the questions you've been avoiding. Are you living your life or simply reacting to it? Are your days filled with intention, or have you been moving on autopilot? Are you giving your best or just enough to get by? These questions sting. They are supposed to. The sting is the beginning of awareness. And awareness is the beginning of change. When you audit your life, you're not just analyzing your habits, you're confronting your identity. You're deciding who you're willing to become and what you're no longer willing to tolerate. Look at your habits with honesty, not emotion. What do your mornings say about your discipline? What does your screen time say about your priorities? What do your weekends say about your dreams? The small choices you repeat every day tell a clearer story about your future than your intentions ever will. Most people think they're stuck because of circumstances. The truth is, they're stuck because of patterns. And those patterns reveal themselves the moment you examine your life under the light of honesty. Then look at your environment. Is it shaping you or shrinking you? The people you surround yourself with are mirrors. Some reflect your potential, others reflect your fears, some ignite your ambition, others dim it. Your life audit must include the relationships you've been holding onto out of loyalty, convenience, or history. Not everyone who started with you is meant to finish with you. And that's not betrayal. That's growth. If someone drains your energy, belittles your dreams, or keeps you tied to an older version of yourself, it's time to acknowledge it. You can't build a new future while clinging to old anchors. Next, audit your excuses. This is the hardest part because excuses are comfortable. They give you permission to stay where you are without guilt. They make you feel justified even when you're holding yourself back. But excuses, no matter how comforting, are walls disguised as reasons. They close you in, limit your movement, and blind you to your options. Before 2026, you must pull those walls apart. Write down the excuses that have been replaying in your mind. I don't have time. I'm not ready. What if I fail? It's not the right moment. And challenge every single one. Not with judgment, but with responsibility. You have more time than you think. you're more capable than you believe, and the right moment is always now. Audit your dreams as well. Some of the dreams you carry aren't actually dreams, they're expectations, borrowed from society, from family, from comparison. Ask yourself which goals truly belong to you. Which ones set your soul on fire? Which ones make you feel alive? Which ones would you pursue even if no one clapped for you? When you strip away the pressure to impress or meet others' standards, you begin to uncover the goals that genuinely matter. Those are the ones worth fighting for before 2026. Those are the ones that deserve your energy, your time, and your focus. Audit your failures too. Not with shame, but with curiosity. Every setback you've experienced teaches you something about your patterns, your resilience, and your blind spots. Failure is feedback. When you look at it honestly, you begin to recognize which choices led you there and which choices could lead you somewhere different. The purpose of a life audit isn't to punish yourself, it's to prepare yourself, to identify the lessons you missed, to reclaim the opportunities you overlooked, to rebuild the confidence you lost. Finally, audit your potential. When was the last time you truly acknowledged how capable you are? When was the last time you reminded yourself of your strengths instead of your weaknesses? Brutal honesty is not just about facing what's wrong, it's also about recognizing what's right. You have talents you haven't used. You have ideas you haven't acted on. You have strength you haven't tested. You have a version of yourself that you haven't even met yet. And that version is waiting on the other side of your honesty. When you audit your life with courage, with truth, with clarity, you break the limitations that once felt permanent. You stop living in denial and start living with intention. You stop drifting and start directing. You stop repeating old cycles and begin creating new possibilities. A brutally honest life audit is the first step toward becoming the person you were always capable of becoming before 2026 arrives. There is a reason so many people work hard yet feel like they are moving nowhere. It's not because they lack ambition. It's not because they lack talent. It's because they are drowning in noise. Constant notifications, endless comparison, meaningless conversations, unnecessary obligations, and a world that pulls at their attention every second. The truth is simple. You can't build a powerful life while being constantly distracted. Before 2026 arrives, one of the most important decisions you can make is to cut the noise and fiercely protect your focus. Because the life you want demands more clarity, more intention, and more discipline than the world around you encourages. The problem is that distraction feels harmless. Scrolling for a few minutes, answering every message instantly, checking what others are doing, letting your day be shaped by urgency instead of priority, none of it feels dangerous in the moment. But distraction doesn't destroy your life instantly. It slowly erodes your potential. It pulls your attention away from your purpose inch by inch until you wake up one day realizing that you've been busy but not productive, active but not progressing, connected but not fulfilled. Most people don't fail because they lack the ability to win. They fail because they are too distracted to stay focused on what matters. Protecting your focus begins with recognizing that attention is your most valuable asset. Not money, not time, attention. Because what you give your attention to grows. What you ignore dies. Attention is the fuel that builds your skills, strengthens your relationships, advances your goals, and shapes your identity. Yet most people spend it carelessly, allowing everything and everyone to interrupt them. If you want to reshape your life by 2026, you must start guarding your attention with the same intensity you would guard something precious, because it is. Start by identifying what steals your focus the most. It might be your phone. It might be the opinions of people who don't matter. It might be tasks that feel urgent but produce nothing meaningful. It might be fear disguised as procrastination. When you name your distractions, you reclaim power over them. When you ignore them, they control you. Cutting the noise isn't just about shutting things off. It's about choosing what actually deserves space in your mind. And that choice determines your future. Think about how often you allow the world to decide your direction. A notification dictates your next movement. A random thought derails your momentum. A comparison on social media makes you question your progress. A small inconvenience destroys your productivity for the entire day. When you let external noise guide you, you lose control of your internal compass. But when you protect your focus, you stop reacting to the world and start leading yourself through it. Protecting your focus also means building boundaries, not weak ones, but firm, unapologetic ones. Boundaries with your time, boundaries with your energy. Boundaries with people who constantly demand from you, but rarely contribute to your growth. You are not available to everyone. You are not obligated to respond instantly. You are not responsible for carrying distractions disguised as responsibilities. The more selective you become about what you allow into your life, the more powerful your life becomes. Your focus sharpens. Your mind clears. Your direction strengthens. And progress that once felt impossible suddenly becomes natural. One of the most important parts of cutting the noise is learning to be alone with your own thoughts. Not with your phone, not with music, not with constant stimulation, just you. The world trains us to avoid silence because silence reveals truth. Silence makes you confront the things you've ignored. Silence exposes the areas you need to grow. But silence also awakens your creativity, your intuition, your ambition. Some of your greatest breakthroughs will come from quiet moments you once avoided. In silence, your mind expands instead of reacts. Your ideas form instead of collapse. Your purpose becomes louder because the noise around it disappears. Before 2026, challenge yourself to spend more time creating than consuming. Consuming is easy. Creating requires focus. Consuming distracts you from your goals. Creating moves you toward them. When you choose creation, writing, building, learning, practicing, planning, you choose progress over distraction. And every moment of intentional creation compounds into results you will feel months and years from now. Another essential step is learning to say no. Not because you are rude, not because you are selfish, but because every yes you give to something unimportant is a no to something that matters. You cannot pursue big goals with a life full of small commitments. You cannot chase your dreams while carrying everyone else's expectations. You cannot build your future if you're constantly solving problems that aren't yours. Your focus is too valuable to be spent on things that do not shape your destiny. You must also understand that protecting your focus doesn't require perfection. You don't need to eliminate every distraction. You simply need to reduce the noise enough for your purpose to guide your days instead of chaos. It's not about living a controlled life, it's about living a directed one. A life where you choose where your time goes instead of wondering where it went. A life where your habits serve your goals instead of sabotaging them. A life where your mind is clear enough to recognize your opportunities. When you cut the noise, you make room for clarity. When you protect your focus, you make room for growth. And when you combine clarity with growth, you create momentum. Momentum that carries you into 2026 with confidence, determination, and purpose. Momentum that separates you from the version of yourself that once struggled to stay consistent. Momentum that transforms your dreams from ideas into results. And it all begins with the courage to silence the world long enough to hear your own direction. As you move toward 2026, one of the most important decisions you will ever make is choosing the people you allow into your life. Because no matter how strong, disciplined, ambitious you are, you're still shaped by the relationships around you. The truth is simple. You cannot rise while surrounded by people who are comfortable staying exactly where they are. You cannot grow when you're constantly pulled back by those who don't want to grow. And you cannot become the best version of yourself if you keep investing your time and energy into people who drain you instead of elevate you. Strengthening the relationships that strengthen you isn't just emotional wisdom, it's a strategic requirement for the life you want to build. Every person in your life is either a battery or a vacuum. Some people recharge you. They inspire you. They light a fire in you. They remind you of who you can become. Others drain you. They drain your joy, your focus, your confidence, and your ambition. And here's the truth most people avoid. Your future depends on your ability to tell the difference and act accordingly. If you want 2026 to be a year of transformation, you must surround yourself with people who push you forward, not pull you backwards. Begin by looking at your inner circle with honesty. Who are the people that make you feel alive? Who believes in your potential even when you doubt yourself? Who challenges you to grow? And who makes you shrink yourself just to maintain peace? Many people stay in draining relationships because they fear conflict. They fear being alone. They fear being misunderstood. But staying connected to the wrong people is far more dangerous than standing alone for a while. Distance from the wrong relationships creates room for the right. To build systems that carry you forward when motivation fades. And the truth is, your future begins long before it arrives. It begins now. In the choices you make today, in the habits you reinforce, in the goals you commit to without hesitation, in the environment you create around your mind and your emotions. Nothing changes until you change what you tolerate. Nothing grows until you make space for growth. Nothing strengthens until you decide to strengthen it. And the life you want will not appear out of luck or convenience. It will be built through clarity, through courage, through relentless commitment to the person you know you can become. But strengthening relationships isn't just about holding on to the good ones. It's also about being the kind of person who contributes, not just consumes. Relationships grow when you add value to them, when you listen with intention, support without condition, and encourage without jealousy. You must become the friend who celebrates others' success without feeling threatened, the partner who communicates with honesty instead of reacting with ego, the colleague who elevates the team instead of competing for attention. Relationships that strengthen you are built on mutual growth, not one-sided effort. As you move closer to 2026, you must also learn to set healthy boundaries. The people who truly value you will respect your boundaries. Those who are only attached to what you provide will resist. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They allow love, support, and positivity to flow in while keeping toxicity out. If someone consistently brings chaos, negativity, or unnecessary drama into your life, you have every right to protect your peace. You're not responsible for fixing everyone. You're responsible for managing the energy you allow into your environment. Another crucial part of strengthening meaningful relationships is honesty. Not brutal honesty that hurts for the sake of hurting, but genuine honesty that strengthens trust. Be honest about your feelings, your limits, your expectations, and your aspirations. Avoiding difficult conversations might keep things comfortable in the short term, but it prevents growth in the long term. Relationships built on clarity become stronger. Relationships built on assumptions eventually crumble. Speak with kindness, but speak with truth. You also need to recognize that some relationships are seasonal. They served you in one chapter of your life, but they don't align with the chapter you're entering. This doesn't make them bad. This doesn't make you ungrateful. It simply means you're evolving. And evolution requires letting go of old patterns, old habits, and sometimes old connections. The mistake many people make is forcing lifelong expectations onto relationships that were only meant to guide them for a period of time. Accept the lessons, cherish the memories, then move forward with grace. Surround yourself with people who think bigger, dream louder, and work harder. People who hold you accountable when you fall short, not out of criticism, but out of belief in your potential. People who challenge your excuses. People who remind you of your mission. People who push you to act with courage instead of fear. These relationships create momentum. They change the way you see yourself. They redefine what you believe is possible. Invest in mentors. Seek individuals who have walked the path you want to walk. Not because they have all the answers, but because their presence accelerates your growth. A single conversation with the right mentor can save you years of mistakes. Value their wisdom. Apply their guidance. And when you've grown enough, become a mentor for someone else. Growth spreads when you give it away. Spend more time with people who share your values. Not just your interests, not just your goals, but your values. Shared values create alignment. Alignment creates trust. Trust creates strong, lasting relationships that elevate your life. Before 2026 arrives, evaluate whether your inner circle reflects the person you are becoming. If they don't, it's time to upgrade your environment. Strengthen the relationships that bring out the best in you. Nurture the connections that support your growth. And become the kind of person who strengthens others in return. There comes a point in your life when you must decide whether you will continue scattering your energy across a dozen different directions or finally channel it into one meaningful mission. Most people claim they want success, yet they spend their days divided, distracted, and overwhelmed by trying to do everything at once. They chase multiple goals but commit to none. They start projects they never finish. They spread their attention so thin that nothing grows. And then they wonder why another year passes without real progress. If you want 2026 to be a turning point, you must choose one big goal and give it everything you have. Not partial effort, not inconsistent focus, complete commitment. One big goal has power because it brings clarity to your life. When you decide what matters most, everything else becomes easier to manage. Your distractions reveal themselves. Your excuses lose their weight. Your priorities rearrange themselves. Suddenly, your days stop feeling chaotic because they have direction. When you commit to a single mission, you stop living reactively and start living intentionally. Your time becomes an investment instead of something you simply spend. Your energy becomes fuel instead of something that leaks away. And your actions begin to compound instead of canceling each other out. The reason many people avoid choosing one big goal is because commitment is uncomfortable. It forces you to confront the fear of failure. It forces you to acknowledge that if you go all in and it doesn't work, you can't hide behind the excuse of "I wasn't really trying." But that fear is exactly why you must commit. Great achievements don't come from playing safe or staying halfway in. They come from going beyond your comfort zone, stepping into the unknown, and giving yourself a real chance to succeed. You cannot create a powerful future by taking half measures. Choosing one big goal doesn't mean ignoring everything else. It means aligning everything else around it. It means asking yourself daily, does this action move me closer to my goal or further? Away? Does this habit support my mission or sabotage it? Does this environment help me grow or keep me stuck? When you frame your decisions through the lens of your goal, you begin to live with intention instead of impulse. And intention is what separates dreamers from achievers. Think about the people you admire, those who built extraordinary success. They didn't accomplish greatness because they tried doing everything. They chose one mission and committed to it with relentless consistency. They said no to distractions. They removed unnecessary noise. They understood that progress requires trade-offs, that discipline is a form of love, that sacrifice is a doorway to transformation. You must do the same. You must be willing to say no to good things so you can say yes to great ones. Going all in means giving yourself permission to focus deeply. Deep focus is rare today. Most people live in shallow focus, constantly interrupted, constantly switching tasks, constantly reacting. But deep focus is where momentum is built. It is where mastery develops. It is where your best ideas come alive. When you commit to one goal, you give yourself the mental space to enter that state. And in that state, your work becomes richer, your progress becomes faster, and your confidence grows stronger. Going all in also means removing the backup plan you've been secretly leaning on. As long as you have one foot in and one foot out, you will never see what you are truly capable of. A backup plan often becomes the escape route the moment things get difficult. But difficulty is part of the path. Struggle is part of the transformation. And the breakthrough often comes right after the moment you feel like giving up. When you commit fully, you push through resistance instead of being stopped by it. You develop resilience instead of doubt. You build faith instead of fear. Before 2026 arrives, spend time reflecting on what your one big goal should be. Not the goal others expect from you. Not the goal that looks impressive from the outside. The goal that makes you feel alive. The goal you would pursue even if no one applauded. The goal that aligns with your values, your purpose, and your vision for your future. The right goal will feel both exciting and intimidating. That's how you know it matters. If it feels comfortable, it's not big enough. If it feels effortless, it's not meaningful enough. The right goal stretches you into someone you are not yet but can become. Once you choose that goal, commit to it with everything inside you. Build habits around it. Design your environment for it. Protect your time for it. Evaluate your progress regularly. Remove anything that distracts you from it. Be willing to make sacrifices others won't, so you can live a life others don't. You won't feel motivated every day. That's normal. Commitment is not about motivation, it's about discipline, consistency, loyalty to your mission, even when the process becomes difficult. Your life changes when your commitment changes. When you operate with one clear mission, your confidence grows because you see progress. Your identity evolves because you prove to yourself what you're capable of. Your environment shifts because you eliminate what no longer aligns. And your future expands because your actions finally have direction. Commit to one big goal and go all in. Not halfway, not when it's convenient, not when you feel inspired. Every day, with full dedication, with complete focus. With unwavering belief that the version of you who achieves that goal already exists, you're simply building the bridge to meet them. There is a truth that quietly defines the direction of your life. Success is never built in the future. It is built in the small decisions you make every single day. Not the big moments, not the breakthroughs, not the highlights people celebrate. It's the habits you repeat when no one is watching. It's the routines you follow when motivation disappears. It's the standards you hold yourself to when excuses sound reasonable. Before 2026 arrives, one of the most powerful commitments you can make is to build habits that your future self will look back on with gratitude, pride, and respect. Most people underestimate the power of habits because habits are quiet. They don't deliver instant results. They don't create dramatic overnight success. They don't feel exciting, but that is exactly why they're powerful. Habits don't rely on emotion, they rely on repetition. They don't depend on inspiration, they depend on identity. When you build the right habits, you're not just changing your actions, you're changing who you believe you are. And once your identity shifts, your life follows. Think about where you want to be by 2026. Think about the version of yourself you want to become. What kind of discipline does that person live with? What kind of routines do they follow? How do they treat their health, their mind, their time, their relationships? That version of you isn't created through hope. It's built through habit. The habits you build today become the lifestyle you live tomorrow. The lifestyle you live tomorrow becomes the identity you carry next year. And that identity determines your destiny. But habits don't form from pressure, they form from clarity. You must first decide what matters most, not what feels good now, but what will matter later. Will your future self thank you for waking up earlier to work on your goals? Yes. Will they thank you for taking care of your body when others chose comfort? Absolutely. Will they thank you for reading, learning, practicing, preparing, and investing in yourself every time? Humans overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in a year. But habits bridge that gap. Habits turn small, consistent effort into exponential growth. You must also accept that the habits you need will not always feel natural at first. Your mind will resist change because the brain prioritizes comfort over growth. It prefers familiarity over improvement. But discomfort is the price of transformation. If you only follow habits that feel easy, you will never unlock the strength that comes from doing what is necessary. The first week is the hardest. The second week becomes bearable. The third week becomes familiar. And with time, the habit becomes part of who you are. Not because it's easy, but because it's aligned with your purpose. Building habits your future self will thank you for requires you to challenge the habits that hold you back. Look at your current routines with honesty. There are habits you practice daily that you never consciously chose. Habits of procrastination, habits of distraction, habits of comparison, habits of comfort. These habits steal your potential quietly, one day at a time. Before 2026, you must replace them with habits that give you momentum instead of excuses. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to replace one unhelpful pattern at a time with something that supports your growth. Another important truth is that habits thrive in the right environment. You cannot rely on willpower alone. Willpower is unreliable. It fades. It fluctuates. But environment is constant. If your environment is full of noise, temptation, clutter, or chaos, your habits will collapse. If your environment is designed for discipline, your habits will flourish. Remove distractions. Organize your space. Surround yourself with people who live with intention. Place reminders where you need them. Make the right actions easier and the wrong actions harder. The best way to build strong habits is to remove the obstacles that sabotage them. Consistency is the heartbeat of habit building. Not perfection, not intensity, consistency. There will be days when you feel tired, days when you feel unmotivated, days when your progress feels slow. But consistency is what separates temporary effort from lasting transformation. Every day you show up, even at 50%, is a win. Every day you take one small step forward, you reinforce the identity of someone who follows through. And that identity is what shapes your long-term success. Your future self will thank you for choosing growth over comfort. They will thank you for choosing discipline over impulse. They will thank you for choosing long-term benefit over short-term satisfaction. Because habits compound. They stack. They build on each other. A single positive habit can ripple into every area of your life. A morning routine can sharpen your mind. A reading habit can expand your thinking. A health habit can give you more energy. A financial habit can give you security. A focus habit can accelerate your progress. These ripples add up to a completely different life by 2026. You must also understand that habits are not built for the purpose of impressing others. They are built for the purpose of transforming yourself. Your habits should match your values, not someone else's expectations. They should reflect who you want to be, not who others want you to be. When your habits align with your identity and your goals, discipline becomes easier. You stop forcing yourself to act differently and start becoming someone who naturally behaves differently. Building habits that your future self will thank you for is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that you believe in your potential enough to prepare for it. It is a promise to yourself that your dreams deserve consistent action, not inconsistent hope. It is a commitment to live with intention, growth, and purpose instead of drifting aimlessly. The habits you build between now and 2026 will determine whether you stand in the future as someone who repeats the same year over and over, or someone who evolves into a stronger, wiser, more capable version of yourself. The future doesn't just happen, it's built. And the bricks are laid in the form of habits you practice every single day. When you look at your life from a distance, You begin to see that every choice you make, every habit you form, every boundary you protect, and every goal you commit to is shaping the person you are becoming. You don't rise to the level of your dreams, you fall to the level of your discipline. And discipline is built in the quiet moments, the moments where no one is watching, the moments where your future self depends on you making the harder choice. This entire journey you're on is not about perfection. It's about responsibility. It's about intention. It's about owning your focus, honoring your relationships, cutting the noise, and building a life that reflects your deepest values. You are not here to drift through life. You are here to direct your life. You are here to rise above distractions, to choose purpose over comfort, great ones. Strengthening the relationships that strengthen you starts with appreciation. Often, we take the best people in our lives for granted. The friend who checks in when no one else does. The mentor who offers guidance without expecting anything in return. The partner who supports your dreams even when they don't fully understand them. These relationships are rare, they are precious, and they require nurturing. Express gratitude, show up, invest time, not because you have to, but because relationships that uplift you deserve to be protected and deepened.